Chapter 38. Locked in the silence of hyperspace, Wedge glanced back over his shoulder and frowned. Are you absolutely certain about the timing on this search pattern thing? Minox spun his head around and bleated imploringly. Fine. The droid's numbers indicated that a standard Imperial square-click search pattern would take 2.5 standard hours to scour the dark side of the moon. If Corrin managed to stay ahead of them and slip over to the light side, then they'd have to search it too. That means he could still be hiding from them. If not, Wedge glanced at his fighter's chronometer. If not, they found him a minimum of an hour and a half ago. Frustration balled Wedge's hands into fists. He knew they'd done everything they could within mission parameters to help Corrin. The first set of 10 interceptors had caught up with them because they had throttled back and waited. The 5 rogues had easily dispatched their foes, but the dogfight took them into to critical fuel levels. They went to light speed, leaving a dozen squints to hunt for Corrin. At the first transit jump, he'd ordered everyone to spend the trip into Nagquizar working up plans to go back and get Corrin out. For the past 3 hours, he'd put together a rescue operation and had figured out all sorts of contingencies depending upon what intelligence they could get from Borlius. Defender Wing would not have yet arrived at Borlius by the time the rogues landed at Nagquizar, but there was an outside chance that Page's people could have some news and have tapped into the Imperial holonet to deliver it. That was a long shot, but getting information from the holonet was not. Borlius would certainly have reported being under attack, and that report might contain details that would indicate Corrin's status. The second he reverted to real space, he'd have M-Tray search out the latest information from Borlius. I need to know what to expect when we go back. His core plan was risky, and he knew Akbar would never approve it. The mission risks had been pointed out in advance. Corrin had volunteered to go. He would be missed, but jeopardizing other people to effect a rescue that probably would not work would be foolish. As much as he knew Akbar would be right in pointing all those things out, he also knew he couldn't abandon one of his people. I've lost too many friends to the Empire not to do everything I can to save others. He knew his insistence on Tycho Celchu's inclusion in Rogue Squadron was just such a rescue. He smiled wryly. And saving him from Sam was tougher than pulling Corrin out of Borlius ever will be. At Nagquizar, the rogues could be refueled and head back out inside a half hour. He assumed the return trip would actually go off in an hour because he recalled that being the minimum amount of time Tex needed to put the lasers back in the Forbidden. With Tycho flying the shuttle and the X-Wings as escort, they'd be more than a match for the dozen interceptors in the Borlius system. Dozen? I'll bet Corrin will leave us half that number. Wedge sat back for a moment. He realized he thought of Corrin as Corrin, not Lieutenant Horn. The distance he had placed between himself and Corrin had collapsed in on itself. He'd purposely chosen to distance himself from all the new recruits to maintain authority over them. As loose as Rogue Squadron was, that detachment was necessary if they were to follow him. Even so, he suddenly realized, he had insulated himself from them for his own protection. Having lost so many friends, having felt the pain of their deaths, he had been reluctant to let anyone else get close. Not befriending them meant he could blunt the pain of seeing them die. He regretted Blue Jane Forge, Adorni Hui, and Pesk Frysek dying, but he had not been as deeply hurt by their deaths as he had been when Biggs or Porkins or Dak had died. Emotional distance is armor for the heart. That armor was necessary because without it, the overwhelming nature of the fight against the Empire would crush him. After seeing how many had been slain, it would have been easy to assume all was for naught. But if we did assume that, the Death Stars would be ravaging planets, and the Emperor would still rule the galaxy. Corrin had earned the friendship Wedge felt for him, and not just through his skill in the X-Wing. He had taken to heart the things that Wedge had told him about becoming part of the unit. Corrin had clearly known that to go after the interceptors closing on the assault shuttle was to be left behind. He had made that choice because it was really no choice at all. The rest of the unit would have made the same choice too, and they'll want to go back to get Corrin. By jumping straight from Noctwazar to Barlius, without making a side jump first, they could reach the world in under 3 hours. Doing that would expose Noctwazar to discovery by Imperial forces, but Wedge expected Page's people to be giving them other things to think about. Even so, a jump to the outer edge of the Barlius system, and then another jump in closer, would bring them out of hyperspace from a direction that would hide their point of origin. I hope. A green button started blinking on the commands console. Wedge punched it, and hyperspace melted into the Noctwazar system. He immediately keyed his comm. Rogue leader to M-Tray. M-Tray here, sir. I have an urgent message for Bror Jace. It's not as urgent as my orders, M-Tray. Get Zry set up to refuel us and get the techs mounting lasers on the Forbidden. An hour from now, at the most, we're heading back out. Yes, sir. And contact intelligence. I want any holonet data coming out of Barlius. Yes, sir. The droid sounded agitated. Sir, we do have some information from Barlius. You do? Wedge's heart started to pound inside his chest. What is it? Is it about Corrin? Yes, sir. Give it to me. It's a hologram. Wedge frowned. Have the computer mash it to 2 dimensions and send it. You may want to wait, sir. M-Tray! Transmitting now, sir, at your request. The monitor resolved itself into an image of Corrin Horn. Wedge shook his head. What? If you're seeing this, Commander Antilles, Corrin said solemnly, I know I was left behind. And that's the end of the chapter. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.